Well, somebody I know might say it's been a long time coming, and they would be right. It has been a long time coming. We took a little bit of a hiatus, and for good reason, and I am so excited to welcome you back to The Sensationalist. You might notice, if you are watching, that I am on the floor, but more importantly, you might notice that you're in for a real treat if you are watching this today. If you're watching, then you'll notice that I have my little sidekick here. I have my little guest. This is Oliver Goose, the love of my life, my sweet, wonderful 5-year-old Australian Shepherd puppy. Yes, I said puppy. He's forever a baby. So that is my son. That is my child. That is the love of my life, my angel, my everything. And he just decided to cozy up and join us for this episode. And I think that that's an omen that it's going to be a really good one. If you saw my Instagram post announcing this episode, then you know that this episode is titled Screw It. And for good reason. That is the theme of this episode. That is the theme for this year. I had been sitting and thinking about what I was going to do for my first podcast episode of 2026. And, you know, I had so much pressure on me, and we'll get into all of this as kind of the theme of this episode. I had pressure on me that I was putting on myself because I felt like I needed to keep the theme of the podcast going, of a deep dive into something about pop culture, a deep dive into a historical event and how it all connects and everything. And I have so many episodes planned out for that, but I also just really have been feeling a little bit disconnected from my audience, as if I am someone with a massive audience. But, you know, and that's also, it's coming up in real time. That is something that I've said I'm going to be better about, is like not diminishing my achievements, because as silly as it might sound, gaining over 155,000 people on TikTok and over 50,000 on Instagram is an achievement. It's something that I've wanted for a really long time. Ever since I was really young, when I was in middle school, I looked up to YouTubers and content creators when they were like the first beauty gurus were coming on the scene. I wanted that so bad. I made a couple YouTube videos back in the day that are long gone off the internet, thankfully, but I had so much admiration for that. And I dreamed of what it would feel like if I one day had a following, and if I had people that would ever, you know, come up to me even and say, hey, I really like your stuff, or I follow you, or whatever, how cool that would be. And I've had that happen to me now. And even when it happens now, it's like I have this little voice in my head that says it's not a big deal and you shouldn't be proud of this. It's just social media. It's brain rot. It doesn't matter. And that's part of why I wanted to start this topic and start this podcast, is because that's the crux of everything I do, is that the things that I like and the things that I want to talk about are things that people love to say don't matter. They're things like Taylor Swift, music from pop girls, you know, trending books on Book Talk, trending movies and TV shows and everything that are just seen as like for the girls and the gays, and it must mean that you have nothing but worms for brains and you just like sparkly glittery things. And it's like, no, that's not the case. There's actually so much depth to it, and I'm really sorry that you can't see that. But that's your tactic for people like that. When they cannot understand something, they want to diminish it. And so I wanted to start a podcast that focused on all of those things that are usually wrapped in pink paper, you know, and told that they're glittery and unsubstantial, and show the weight of it, because there is so much weight to it. And so that's the point of this podcast. And that's something that I'm really trying to hold myself accountable to for myself, is just reminding myself that it's okay to be proud of myself for these achievements, because they're things that I've wanted since I was little, and little me would be so proud of me right now. And I have to remember that. And so I thought that it would be good to do an episode that's really just casual and raw and vulnerable, me sitting on the floor and talking to you guys in a way that I haven't yet. And I'm just going to go ahead and set the scene for you. I got 2 new lights. You might notice, if you're watching, the quality is much better than it has been. My sweet father got me a Canon G7X. Sorry, I literally say it wrong every single time. Shows how tech savvy I am. A Canon G7X for Christmas, which I've wanted for so long. And so that was my big Christmas gift this year, along with lighting, professional looking lighting, like the big blow uppy looking ones. So I have 2 lights on either side of me. It's nighttime and you wouldn't even know, because the lighting is so good. My camera's good. I've got my mic. And so we're upgrading. We are up this year. And I'm so excited about it, but I also wanted to just say that even though I have some upgrades, it's still not perfect. I am using, my mic is sitting on a stool because it's actually a stool if Christy Williams is watching, my sweet angel Christy Williams, who I have had the pleasure of working for. She owns Shading the Limelight, an excellent company that works towards educating and empowering artists to take care of themselves and their mental health. And it's fantastic. So artists and entertainers, check out Shading the Limelight. She made me this stool and I love it so much. I use it to get the sweaters off of my shelves and to hoist up my mic to sit down and do my perfectly imperfect podcast. And yeah, so sitting on the floor, wearing a chunky sweater, cozy, hair's not washed, dry shampoo, all up in this, and I wanted to sit down and I've really thought about what this episode's going to be about. And I want to essentially break the ice with you guys and really let you in on some things about myself. I want to air out my dirty laundry a little bit, talk about the things that I've been through the past year, because I think that that's a major thing that's caused the disconnect between feeling like I have 155,000 followers on TikTok, 50,000 on Instagram. And it's so weird because I sometimes feel like these people are like my friends and I recognize you guys that comment all the time and I get excited when I see those familiar profile pictures and usernames. But then also I feel weird because I'm like, you guys don't know me at all. And that's on me because the past year of my life, I've been going through a lot of things that I felt have like diminished me a little bit and have kind of dulled me a little bit, but I haven't wanted to talk about it. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about in this episode. I want to talk about some of the stuff that's gone on in my life, how I felt really mainly, and what I've realized and what I've learned from it, and how I've gotten to the point of feeling like, screw it, because that's how I feel right now. And I think it'll be a really good episode because I think that a lot of you will relate to it. And that's the most important thing to me. And I have an exciting announcement for something that I want to start with this podcast and with my social media that has to tie into all of this, that this was necessary to do to talk about this before I can announce that. And so, yeah, we are going to get into it. And I am so excited to welcome you to another episode of The Sensationalist. And let's all say it together. Screw it. Screw it. And of course, it wouldn't be me if I wasn't going to talk about Taylor Swift. So don't worry, that will come up because it's relevant to what I've been through and a major learning lesson and why I want to talk about this today. So let's talk about 2025. 2025 was without a doubt the worst year of my life. And I don't say that lightly. I'm serious when I say it was the worst year of my life. And I don't think I realized that it was the worst year of my life until very recently. I think I kind of knew it in the back of my head and kind of felt that way, but I was pushing it away so much. And I didn't realize how much things were affecting me until truly like the day after New Year's Eve. So New Year's Day, that is what that day is called. New Year's Day, I had friends that were in town, hanging out with friends, having an absolute blast. And then my friend that's like one of my best friends that was visiting from out of town left, and my other friends like went back to their houses. And it was like the first moment in so long, what felt like so long, where I was just like kind of by myself and had nothing to do, nothing to look forward to doing, because I work another job that didn't pick back up until the second week of January. I was off from that. And I had just been visiting my parents. I had just been visiting Chase's parents and his hometown, and his family and extended family was in town and everything. And Chase is my boyfriend. If you guys don't know, most of y'all know and comment about him, and that's funny. So keep that coming. But anyway, so I had just been around so many people. My birthday's December 10th. Chase's birthday is December 4th. His sister's birthday is December 13th. My dad's birthday is right around Thanksgiving. Like, it was just one thing after another of like Thanksgiving, birthday, Christmas, my birthday, Chase's birthday, Christmas, family, seeing one family, going to the next family, coming home, New Year's Eve, friends in town, hanging out with people, and then boom, nothing. And it was in that moment where it's like all of the holidays are over. All of the things that I've been looking forward to are kind of done. It's a new year. And I just kind of have never in my life felt that way before. I remember being in the kitchen and just feeling like I couldn't breathe, like feeling like I couldn't get a full breath. The best way I can describe it is how I feel I go to bar classes pretty regularly. That's my preferred method of working out. I felt like when I'm really tired from a bar class and like they're telling you to, like do the breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth, like focus on your breathing. And you just can't catch your breath. You just can't get that full breath. But I hadn't been moving at all. Like I had been stagnant. And I felt like it was like the weight of everything from the past year finally set in, because I had a moment of quiet and I had a moment to think about it. And I knew for the next couple days, like I don't have anything super pressing to do. And I just felt like I wanted to crawl in bed, go to sleep, not wake up for as long as humanly possible. But then the idea of closing my eyes and going to sleep made me feel like I couldn't breathe. And I just felt like there was nowhere to go. Like I remember really being like, what is going on with me? Why do I feel like this? And I started to kind of think and realize that I haven't felt normal in a really long time. And it was a weird feeling to realize that and to think about it of like, when's the last time I felt like myself? And I couldn't really remember it. And I just have been feeling like something's off, but I've ignored it for so long. And it just seemed to snowball into this moment of all of a sudden I have no distractions around and nothing to immediately run to and, suppress this anymore. And so it's all coming out right now. And it's making me feel very paralyzed and very suffocated and panicky, probably on the verge of a panic attack. But in that moment, I just felt like I've got to do something. Like I've got to figure something out. And I started to really think about patterns in my own life. And so we'll get into that. But what I want to say about 2025 for me is that last year, and I think this has to do with why it kind of came to a head recently, because it's getting to like the 1-year anniversary of this. But last year, around the very beginning of February, I had something happen in my personal life that was so beyond unexpected and super difficult to deal with, very confusing, very hurtful, very shocking in every single way. And I've thought a lot about it because I have a spicy side to me, and I've had those moments where I've wanted to come on and tell the entire story of like what happened, and maybe one day I will. But also, I'm just going to say right now, probably not, because number one, it doesn't matter. It's kind of the same way of how I think about Taylor Swift songs, is like, it doesn't matter who she dated. It doesn't matter exactly what was said, the specifics between this relationship. Like, we get this song, this piece of art from Taylor Swift, and we all resonate with it because we understand the emotions and what she went through. And we don't need to know the details because the details do not apply to our life. And so that's kind of how I see this, is like, I don't need to sit down and give you guys a play-by-play of like what exactly happened in my life, because it involves other people. Even the person who was the catalyst of this, I don't want to hurt, which is the difference between me and her. And that will always be the difference between me and her, is that I am never, ever going to intentionally hurt her. And so setting up a camera and talking about it to the internet is something that she would do, not something that I would do. So I have a lot of peace with that, but I also realize, like, logically, it just doesn't even matter to people like you who are listening, who are never going to go through that exact same experience with that exact same person, because they're not in your life, so you don't need to know the details of it, and it doesn't matter. It would just go against my morals and my values, and I'm not going to do that. And so what I can say about it is it's the same feeling of like mourning somebody, but mourning somebody who's still alive. And I've had so many people, because I have talked a little bit about it on my socials, and I've had so many people reach out to me that have said like they have picked up on the things that I've said and they think they've been through something similar. And it is one of those situations of like, it's very hard to sit back and watch somebody make such horrible decisions for their life and continue on, and you can't do anything about it. And you're only enabling them by letting them continue to be in your life and affect you and not stand up for yourself and not put those boundaries up. And so it's just hard. It's really, really hard. And it's really hard when it's unexpected. And it's really hard when it affects other people that are involved who didn't deserve it, that you are having to also want to make it better for them and wanting to comfort them, but also knowing that there's nothing you can do, because you didn't cause this, but you can't fix it. And so for me, that's such a hard thing because I am such a fixer. I love to get to the bottom of things and I love to fix things. And so that's what's been really difficult about this, is that there's no magic button that can make any of this go away. And so I've really struggled with that. But I've also chosen to focus on that instead of how hurt I am. And that's what has led to, like, just to give you guys the rundown, over the past year, in retrospect, as I look back, I recognize the patterns in my life of what I was doing and how unhealthy I was being and what an unhealthy state I was existing in. I was not sleeping very well. I was consistently staying up until like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, watching TV, watching a movie just because I couldn't be alone with my own thoughts. I was terrified to sit down and write because I started questioning myself in that. Because all the while this is going on, I have my book out on submission in the summer. I'm working on my book as this is going on. That put a shock in things, made it extremely hard to sit down, but the book became a really good distraction for me. And so I appreciated having that to work on. But then the second it was out on submission, it just added more anxiety of like, is this going to work out for me? And I started putting more pressure on like, this will all get better the second my book sells and I become successful. Because then once I'm successful, I won't notice how emotionally devastated I am. It won't matter. And it's funny. I was talking to Chase about this literally last night, about how I've kind of, over the past couple days, as I've been really thinking about this and wanting to talk about this, I've tried to like sit with myself more and think more about the logic behind my thoughts and like why I do the things I do, why I run the way that I run, why I avoid the things in the way that I do. What are my distraction tactics? And that is a huge one for me. And it always has been. Is like, I've kind of created this idea of like, if I get a certain amount of money, a certain amount of success, then my lifestyle and what I'll look like won't affect me when bad things happen. Like, for example, if I'm, instead of renting a little home that I'm living in, my very tiny house that I have to be, interesting with how I set up my podcast and all my equipment stored in a room that's so overfilled with me and Chase's extra stuff because we have no storage in here. If I had a $2 million home that was my dream home that I got to come home to every day, then I wouldn't be that sad in that home. And if I had so much money that I could go shopping when I'm in a bad mood, when I'm sad, when somebody hurts me, I could just go shop it off and get the things that just get that dopamine hit, then like, and if I had all this success, if I had a New York Times bestseller under my book or under my belt, then like, I wouldn't be as sad. This wouldn't affect me because I'd be successful. And it's like, the fact of the matter is, no, I would just be just as sad sitting in a $2 million house instead of a rental. I would be just as sad aimlessly walking around the mall buying things that probably wouldn't even bring me joy anymore because it wouldn't be special. I would be just as sad as a Britton Rae person with a book on submission as I would be a Britton Rae New York Times bestselling author. Having a New York Times bestselling author award is fantastic, but it doesn't make you less of a human being. You are still going to experience life. You are still going to experience the emotions. And so those are things that are not ever going to change the way that I handle emotions. I have to still handle my emotions, And so kind of realizing that has been a little bit freeing, interestingly, because I feel like I've realized how much pressure I've put on myself to reach this level of success, thinking that that will solve all of my problems, and realizing that no, it's not going to, is kind of a relief, in a strange way. Not that I don't want to be motivated, not that I don't want to still have my big dreams, but it's been a little bit like just kind of me recognizing that I've put so much pressure on myself for an outcome that's not even going to happen. Like, if my motivation is to get rich so that I don't feel bad ever, then sweetie, you don't need to worry about getting rich. Like, that's not going to fix anything, And so it's been nice, weirdly. It's been freeing. And it's also forced me to look at, okay, then what do I need to do to feel better? And I've recognized that the pattern that I have in my life is when things aren't going well for me, I like to run. I like to run from them. I like to replace each problem with a different problem to be able to solve one that I can solve easier and avoid the one that's impossible. So like this situation this past year, anything that I could do to distract myself, any task, like rearranging a room, getting an idea for something, sitting down, making content on TikTok and Instagram because that's quick and, relatively easy. Coming up with an idea, deciding to rebrand how I talk on the internet, or like coming up with a new business plan, a new idea for a book. I started so many books last year, and then started a new one and everything, which not mad about that. I have a lot of great ideas that I can, revisit as I go on throughout my career and everything. But at the same time, I realized like what I was doing is I have this big problem going on, this big situation that has really rocked my world. And I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to deal with it. So I'm shoving it aside and I'm running to something else and giving me another problem to fix. Even if it's literally going through my leggings drawer and getting rid of the stuff that I don't need anymore, the clothes that I don't wear anymore, and throwing those out, donating those. That's a problem I can solve today. So let's waste our time and do that instead when it's really not pressing, and all the while it's just avoiding that feeling that's sitting inside. And I realize I do this often and have done this for years because I thought back about me moving to Charleston, which, in case you guys don't know my Charleston lore, there was back in 2021, I believe. It was the year I graduated, I want to say. 2022 is when we moved. Okay. 2022, the year after I graduated college. And for those of you who don't know, I went to college in Nashville. I studied entertainment industries, and I also had a minor in public relations. And so I had thought I wanted to be a writer my entire life. Obviously, that's what I want to do. That's my dream. I kind of got to the realization that was going to be a lot harder to do than I had imagined, because I'm delusional and crazy. And I'm not kidding. I thought that I was going to be rich and famous before I even graduated college. And so I wouldn't need to worry about figuring out what I'll do after college. I'm not even going to finish, baby. I'm going to be rich and famous before then. And so when that didn't happen, and when the world shut down because of COVID, and like life threw something at me that no one could have expected, my internships were derailed, my plans were derailed, and I was in Nashville and I didn't know how I was going to become an author. I didn't have any big ideas for any books. I didn't even know how to start marketing myself, how to get an agent. I don't even think I knew that you had to get an agent at that point. I knew nothing. And so I also started to kind of panic if I didn't choose the correct major. I should have gone into publishing or something, journalism, something like that, to get some experience writing even for publications. And so I had a little bit of a freak out when my post-grad job was working retail, which there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Got a job at Aritzia. I didn't enjoy that job, I'm not going to lie, but there's nothing wrong with working retail out of college is my point. Retail, service industry, those are great, fantastic jobs that I think every decent human being should work at some point in their life so that they can understand how mentally and emotionally taxing they are. So anyway, I was working there. I was just questioning, like, how am I here? What am I doing? Starting to panic. Really, truly what it was is like realizing how hard it was going to be to chase my dreams. And instead of facing that and doing that and getting over that I'm not good enough, I just tried to come up with another problem. And the problem I came up with was, well, it's not me, it's Nashville. Like, I don't want to be in Nashville anymore. That's not where I'm supposed to be. So within 3 months, me and Chase moved to, we were both going through it at the same time, him for his own reasons, very similar font, but different font, different industry issues. He wanted to start his own business and he wasn't, ready to do that and didn't know what he was doing either. We were going through the same thing. And so we both had the same idea of like, it's not us, it's Nashville. We just need to get out of town. We need to pick somewhere else to live. And we visited, he has family that lives in Charleston. We visited once. That was the first time I had ever been in my entire life. He had been before because he has family there, but we go once, decide, yeah, we want to move. Within 3 months, we moved there. 3 months of deciding to move, visiting once, then actually doing it, moved into a house sight unseen. And those were some of the worst months of my life because I absolutely hated it there. And it was in that moment that I realized, again, it's kind of the same aspect of like, I realized that I had made the wrong decision for me because I was like, I want to work in entertainment. I want to be a writer. And I moved away from Nashville, the place that is like way better when it comes to entertainment and writing and connections, at least a little bit, than Charleston. It's not like we moved to New York or LA or something like that. We moved to Charleston. So we decided to move back within 3 months. And that was the best decision I made. But it was also another example of like running, because it was hard. Moving to a new place is very difficult. It was hard. We didn't think it through, and I wasn't ready for it, but I also wasn't ready to push myself to try to at least see if I liked it. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to get out of there. So I did. I got out of there so fast. I broke my lease, got my deposit back, and hitched a ride back to Nashville in a U-Haul, and Mr. Oliver right there with me. And he hated Charleston too. It was way too hot for him, so he wasn't disappointed. But anyway, so we moved to Nashville, moved into this lovely house that has been so good to us, that I love, and kind of going through the same thing of just running again. Of I didn't want to admit how much I wanted to be a writer and how hard I knew it was, and that I was going to have to take a leap of faith. I was going to have to post my writing online. I was going to have to do the hard things of like knowing that you're going to post stuff online and no one's going to watch it for a little bit. You're not going to become successful overnight. Like, you have to work for it. You have to try. I wasn't ready to do that. So I decided, you know what? I think I've always wanted to be a therapist. I'm going to go to grad school, because it is true that I love psychology. My first novel is a psychological thriller. I love the human brain. I love how it works. Christy, who I mentioned earlier, I loved working for Shading the Limelight. I loved working with artists and entertainers. I love talking about mental health. I love talking about how the brain works. It's so fascinating to me. And so I thought, easy career path, go to grad school, because it's a step-by-step thing. You know, it's like, it's much more guaranteed. It's less risky than it is chasing a dream like becoming a writer, becoming an actor, becoming a singer, an artist of any kind. It's go to grad school, get the credentials, get the licensure, pass the classes, you know, get the licensure, go get the job, or start your private practice at some point. Like, there's steps to it. There's logical steps that you can follow. And so my brain was like, that's perfect. That'll take away all this pain I'm experiencing, blah, blah, blah. And that'll give me security and I'll feel good. So I started that, made it one semester, and said, I'm not going back here because this is not what I want to do. And that was a breaking point I had. And I realized I can't fight what I want to do. This is a dream that I have so deep inside me. I have to just take a chance. So I dropped out of grad school. I started my Substack called Grad School Dropout at the time. It's now called The Sensationalist because, and so I started posting my writing online. And then that's what started me posting chapters of my book as I wrote it, because I was like, you know what, might as well just try. I started posting on TikTok, started posting on Instagram, and now here we are. And it's still scary. It's still risky. There's still so much up in the air. But I have no doubts that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't feel the need to run from this. I feel the need to stick it out. And I say all of this because realizing that that's my pattern has made me realize that I'm at the stick it out point now. I'm at the screw it and stick it out. I am at the point of, last year took so much away from me. It took so much of my peace. Because of somebody else's actions and somebody else's selfishness. It took so much of my peace. It took so much of my creativity. It took so much of my motivation. It took so much of me away. And I wanted to run all year long, and I did. I ran to different hobbies. I ran to different distractions. I ran to different ideas. I ran from everything but how I was feeling. And now I have arrived at the point where there's no more running. There's no more trying to pick somewhere else to live. There's no more trying to pick something else to do. It is just, it is what it is. This is your life, and you have to stick it out. You have to live through it, not around it. And you have to say, screw it, because life's fucking messy, you guys. It is. This is not going to be the last time that something shocks me. This is not going to be the last time that something hurts me. This is not going to be the last time that I have a problem that I cannot fix. I've got to stick it out. And I can't ever let something like that or somebody take a year of my life away from me ever again. I cannot let somebody diminish me and diminish my ability to sit down and chase my dreams. I can't. And so I'm very grateful for the past year, because I think it's made me stronger. I know it's made me stronger. And I think it took me some time to get to this point, but I think I needed it. And that's the hardest thing about life, is that sometimes the things that we need the most hurt the most, but we come out on the other side a little bit stronger. So the past year, the thing that I think I've dealt with the most is having this idea pop in my head of, I'm not good enough. My book's not going to sell. Maybe I'm not going to be a writer. Maybe I'm not going to be a successful author. And my podcast, no one cares. No one wants to listen to it. That's part of why it took me so long to sit down and make this episode, make another episode, because I just felt like Am I wasting my time? Do I need to go find a different job? Do I need to find something that's more stable? Do I need to do something like go back to grad school, follow the path, have the step-by-step, have the security, the guarantee? And one thing I'll say about that is nothing in life is guaranteed. Even the most stable, secure jobs can go away for unfortunate reasons, at no fault of the employee or the person, So there's really no such thing as security. It's an illusion. And there are things that feel more secure, that seem more secure, but really I think the reason that dreams feel so unstable is because you want it so bad. And it's like the idea of losing it is so soul crushing. That's what feels unstable and insecure. And so on the other hand, I've just never been that person. I've never been somebody, like I said, I've always been so delusional. I literally didn't even think I'd graduate college because I thought I'm so talented and I'm going to be so famous and successful. Like I'm not going to need this. And so I've racked my brain to ask, what happened to me? What did this past year do to me that got me to that point where I question myself so much? And I realized what I think, because you guys know me, I love patterns. I think the pattern that really implanted in my brain was that something I never thought would happen to me happened to me, and something I never thought I'd go through, I'm going through. And so I've had all of these ideas of I'm never going to have to worry about getting a book deal. That's going to happen. I'm never going to have to worry about getting a following. That's going to happen. I'm never going to have to worry about being successful. It's going to happen because I'll find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, and I always have a will. And I think because of having that thing happen that was so unexpected, it started to make me think, I shouldn't feel secure with anything. I should not expect everything to go well. I should expect everything to go wrong, actually, because I felt it's like a mental thing. I know a little bit about how the brain works. Like I've said, your brain, when something so shocking and traumatic happens, no matter what it is, you could have a death in the family, you could have a death of any loved one, you could have a tragic event, you could be a part of a tragic event, be a victim of a tragic event. And, or even just like losing your job, that's traumatic. Having the rug pulled out from under you makes your brain implant a seed of like, you never want to experience this again. Not just the pain, but the shock. And so it's like you're constantly trying to prepare yourself all the time. That way you can at least, if something bad happens, because logically we all know life is emotionally abusive and time can't stop me quite like you did. Sorry, had to. We all know life can be emotionally abusive. We know that life it's not always roses and sunshine. We know bad things happen, right? So we know that, but what we don't want to ever happen again is the thing that we can at least control is being prepared for it. So it's like a logical thing in your brain of if I can tell myself something bad's going to happen, it'll hurt less when it does because I at least won't be shocked. And that was the really hard part, right? So I think that's what I've done is I've convinced myself that bad things are going to happen. You're never going to have this happen to you. You're never going to have a good thing happen. You just need to go find something better, stable, secure. That way it's not going to hurt when they call and say, hey, your book's not selling. Or when they say, hey, no, we don't want to sign you to our management company. Your content sucks. Or your podcast is gone. It's deleted from the internet because it's so bad, girl. All of those things that my reaction will be like, oh, okay, I expected this. It doesn't hurt. It's fine. That's what we do. And I know if you're listening to this, if you are anyone over the age of like 20 years old, 15 years old, maybe even 10, that you recognize this, you resonate with this of like, that's what we do as human beings. We want to prepare ourselves. It's literally as simple as like when you fall, when you're learning how to ride a bike, you're more cautious riding a bike because you now know what it feels like to fall. The shock of falling is worse than even the scrape of your knee when you do fall. And so that's what I've been doing. And that's what I've been talking myself out of is like something that's really stuck with me actually is I have two friends, Dell and Maria, who I absolutely adore. And they're leaving to do the coolest thing ever. We just had a farewell send off little party thing for them where they both have planned this for a long time. They've been wanting to move out of Nashville to somewhere else, but they don't know quite where they want to go yet. They're being a lot smarter than I was when I fled away to Charleston. Let me tell you, they have mapped out like over 20 different places that they want to go, and they're taking the entire year. They have remote jobs. they're traveling the country and staying at extended stay Airbnbs and all of these different places that they want to go and see, which I think is so cool and so brave and so fun for them. And I'm so excited for them. And so that's what they're doing. And when I was talking to Dell on the last night that she was here and we were saying, goodbye to them at their little send off, she told me a quote that she had heard that made them want to do this even more when she's been getting nervous about it and everything, and nervous about how it's going to work out and stuff about their big trip. And she said that she saw this quote of, if somebody else is doing it, then it's not unrealistic. And I have thought about that every single day since I saw her, because that has really, truly helped me so much with all of this, with these feelings of me thinking it's never going to happen for me. Maybe it's not. Maybe I need to have a backup plan. Maybe I need to, abandon this. Is if it's happening for somebody else, if somebody else is doing it, then it's not unrealistic at all. And there's so many people that I look up to, that I adore, that I cheer on, that I am such a huge fan of on social media, that they have books out, they've signed book deals, they grew a following from nothing on their own, and they have successful podcasts, they have shows on streaming now that they've written, and, and then just a couple years ago, no one knew who they were, but they tried, and they kept trying, and they kept trying, and they kept trying. And so it's not unrealistic if it's happening for somebody else. And I wanted to share that today because it's so relevant to how I'm feeling. And I also think that is one of the most impactful things that I've ever heard. And so I wanted to share it in case you are feeling like that, of like whatever your dreams are, they feel outlandish, they feel unrealistic. If someone else is doing it, it is not unrealistic. So go for it. You have just as much of a chance as anybody else. The only thing that will completely dwindle your chances of something happening is if you do not try, and if you do not keep trying, if you do not keep trying, if you do not keep trying, and if you quit. If you quit, you can guarantee your chances plummet. Gone. So just don't quit. Keep going. And I'm saying that to me just as much as I'm saying that to you. And it makes me think of Taylor Swift as well. Because like I said, you knew I was going to bring her up. I always bring her up. I find a way. I find a will. If there's a will, there's a way. And I always have a will, like I just said. So Taylor Swift, I talked about this today on TikTok. You might have seen the video. The thing that she has inspired me the most with is not just her brilliance of her songwriting and not just how successful she is as a woman in the industry, but it's the fact that she has been through what she has been through from the industry, from the public, the scrutiny, the doubt, the discrediting that people do, just the commentary of trying to say that she doesn't deserve her success, that her songs aren't that good. She's not a good dancer. She's not a good singer. She's not a good this. She's so overrated. She doesn't deserve it. She's a liar. She has a victim complex. Like all of these things that have been said about her. And she has never quit. That is the one thing she has not done. She has never ever given up. She has never let that get to her. She has never let it show. If it has gotten to her at moments, she has never given up. She's never quit. And it really makes me think about 2016, the Reputation era. 2016 is trending all over social media of us romanticizing how wonderful of a time that was. And for Taylor Swift, it wasn't. It was not a wonderful time. She had been bullied off the internet from a fabricated story, the whole Kim and Kanye of it all. We all know that. I'm not going to rehash it all, because it's unnecessary. We know what happened there. But there are so many people on the planet, and maybe even myself included, that would have a hard time coming back from that. Because number one, she really didn't have a reason to. She was already so successful after 1989. She could have quietly disappeared and lived a quiet, happy, very successful, very nice, luxurious life if she wanted to, and been fine. But she didn't. She came back, and she came back stronger than ever. And then right after she has that horrible year, she comes out with Reputation, her major comeback album. The fans are obsessed with it, but it's not met with the same kind of acceptance and love and adoration that it has today. If you don't recall, people shit all over that album. They said it was horrible and made fun of it, like so many people were. It was trending all over the internet, and then it wasn't nominated for any Grammys. She didn't win any Grammys for it. And what was her response? If you watched her documentary, Miss Americana, she sat there when she found that out and she said, I just need to make a better album. And then she made Lover. And Reputation has gone on to be one of her most beloved albums of all time, for good reason. It's fantastic. But I think about that a lot, and I've thought about it a lot recently, is of her saying, I just need to make a better album. That was her literally saying, I'm never going to give up. I will take whatever feedback I have to, and I will bend, I will twist, I will contort, and I will find a way to break through whatever wall these people build around me to try to cage me, to try to trap me, to try to convince me to stop. I'm never stopping. I will keep going. Why? Because I love it. And I think about her talking about the life of a showgirl and talking about the reason that she just keeps putting out music is because she just loves it. And people tell her she should go away, she should chill out. And she says she doesn't want to because she loves it. And so I've been letting that really sink in. All of those ideas of if someone else is doing it, it's not unrealistic. And I just need to make a better album. And I just love it. Those phrases have been circulating in my brain. And I've come to realize that I don't care about buying a $2 million house. I don't care about the awards, the achievements. If they come, they come. I don't care about that stuff. I'm not motivated by that stuff because I know that those things are not going to eliminate any of the pain that I have experienced or will experience in my life. I know that bad days are ahead of me and they're behind me. And I know that good ones are ahead of me. And I know that good ones are behind me. And I cherish those memories. And the thing is, I know the only thing that I need to do is keep going because above all things, sitting and realizing like that those achievements that I've looked forward to so much wouldn't eliminate the pain I have, it made me realize like what does. And it's sitting at my computer and it's writing books that maybe will never see the light of day. But I'm not going to let that happen. I am going to get them out no matter what, whether I have to do it myself, no matter what, I'm going to smash through the walls that they build around me. It's sitting in front of my camera like this and it's making videos. It's making podcasts. It's talking to you guys. It's connecting with people. It's using my brain. That's what I love. It's what I love. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I don't want to do anything else. And that is what helps me with the pain. That's what helps me on the hard days. And that's what invigorates me on my best days is sitting and doing what I love, creating, talking, and connecting. And so I'm never going to stop writing. I'm never going to stop writing books. I'm never going to stop writing poetry. I'm never going to stop making content. I'm never going to stop making episodes. I'm never going to stop talking to you guys and creating a career for myself. I'm not going to stop because I love it. Not because I'm running away from anything, but because I'm running towards it. And so I just wanted to have this episode to talk to you guys about that because I know for a fact that the reason it's been sitting so heavy on my heart is because I have needed to get it out. I've needed to talk about it, not just for other people, but for myself. I've needed to face it. I've needed to say, screw it. And I know a lot of other people out there can resonate with this. And that's probably another reason it's been sitting so heavy on me is because I have a strong belief that if you feel inclined to talk about something, it's because there's somebody out there, maybe just one person, maybe a million, who really need to hear it. And so if you're that person, if any of this is what you needed to hear, then I am so glad that you're here. And I'm so happy that I could have made this episode. And I am so excited for what is to come with more episodes of The Sensationalist. Okay, girl. Well, I think that's my cue to wrap it up because Oliver's getting tired. But before I do, I wanted to announce one little thing that I think would be so fun and so helpful. And I know I would enjoy it. I think a lot of you would enjoy it. So I am going to be starting an advice column. If you want to send in questions about anything, I'm going to be posting it on my Instagram stories and on both of my channels, on both of my pages, The Sensationalist and Britton Rae. Instagram, it'll be the Sensationalist podcast at gmail.com that you send your advice into, or you can DM. I will be reading some of the submissions on the podcast anonymously, of course, and sharing my advice that I give back. But I just think it would be so fun and like peak girlhood a little bit. I know not that it's subjective to the girls. Boys, you are welcome to send in advice, but I think it would be so fun to have a community where we can all chat with each other, because then when I post it, whether it's on my stories, whether I talk about it on here, I want to open it up to the comments of like, build this community where we can all chat with each other, all give our insight. So if you're going through a relationship breakup, if you're going through something hard like I have for the past year, if you're going through anything, if you just need advice and you need big sister advice, you need a girlfriend advice, your best friend advice. Like, I want you to see this as that. And so that is going to be a new segment on the Sensationalist. That is going to be something I'm posting about on my channels, on my various channels on the internet, where I can't stop yapping. Is if you've got a question, a burning question, if you need advice, let me be your girl, because club together, drinking tea and eating scones, or I don't know, I'd prefer something else other than a scone, like a macaroon or a big chocolate chip cookie or something. But like, that's what we're doing. We're sitting, we're cozy, we're on our floor, we're in our PJs most of the time, drinking tea, drinking hot cocoa, and lamenting and bonding and getting advice, because that's what life is about. It's about connecting and being inspired by others. So if you have anything you'd like to send it to thesensationalistpodcast@gmail.com, and I will be reading every single one, and I will respond to every single one. Please send it in if you would like some advice from me, and I would love to be able to give it to you. You can also message it, DM it to me if you would like to on Instagram. So this has felt so good, and I don't even want this episode to end. Thank you for listening, and I mean that, especially with this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. I do, and I love this. I'm so happy to be doing this. I really do love it. So until next time, this has been Sensational. Bye.